And so we come to the final Soviet turn and the final turn of this 4-turn scenario. I miscounted victory points earlier. The Axis currently have 19 victory points, and so I thought it was 20. Irregardless, it's a draw at this point. And for the Soviets to claim an operational victory, they would have to reclaim another 8 victory points. And I just don't think it's possible under any circumstances in this one turn for that to happen. And so I'm trying to think both in terms of what can they do right now to end the game a little better, but also if this were the long campaign, if the war were continuing past 1941, what would the Soviet priorities be here? And certainly they would need to be protecting the Caucasus down here, and they sort of have that a little bit started over here. And they would also, of course, want to retake Moscow. And the question is, at this point, would they devote any resources to recapturing Leningrad? I don't think that if I were playing the Soviets in the real full game that I would be bothering to try to recapture Leningrad, but for this game, I'm going to try it because I have a bunch of, these are all of the German units. The cadres are resurrected, and these are the 2 powerful Siberian shock infantry units that have returned to the field. The Soviets did, in fact, purchase the offensive kit, so they get to reorganize 2 upfront disorganized units for free. And because of the Great Patriotic War, they get to reorganize 2 non-upfront ground units for free, and they only have 1 of those. So the placement of troops then will be important. So this powerful infantry unit is going to go here because this Moscow defender is disorganized. So it's a reasonably good chance of knocking them back. What I don't think is possible is getting Tula back as well. If the Axis had not left this unit here, the Soviets would have a chance to make their way up here, I think, but that didn't happen, and they don't, so they can't, and they won't. So that's 1 reinforcement replaced, and in order to try to get Leningrad back, we're going to go there. Well, you know what? I'm constantly forgetting about the attrition phase, of course. So no, forget Leningrad, right? So this infantry unit's going to enter the game here because in the attrition phase, if the Soviets can get enough ratio, maybe they can claim a hex. What do you think? I think actually this big fella is going to go to Rostov here because they would like to clear some of this area out. So an resurrected armor unit can enter play there. And I don't think it will do much good at this time. Well, no, so an armor unit could also potentially, yeah, that unit can make it up, right? It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 to get there. This unit will go 1, 2, 3, 4 to move from a zone of control to a zone of control. So they'll be part of the attrition. This, in Stalingrad, a unit with 3 movement points can get into the fray. In Saratov, yeah, okay. I think that the infantry needs to go here so that it can make it to the front line. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this armor unit could make it to the front. And now I have these other resurrected infantry units. And I don't think that they will be playing too big a part in what happens next, but we'll place them in any case. Down here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, now, okay. So, yeah, we'll place one here. And don't see any other entry hexes where these units can get themselves involved in the situation on this turn. So future thinking wise, we'll plop that unit there and this unit here. Another thing I might be doing if I were the Soviets here would be thinking about at what point in the game would I be able to start upgrading my cadres, and long term, I might have wanted to spend a little bit of my oil on bringing cadre air units back in for the coming battles. But I think at this point, that's what the Soviets will do with their reinforcements and resurrections using their production. And so now it is strategic rail movement. I cannot see anything that is worth doing there. Operational ground movement. Again, if this was the long game, for sure there would be some operational ground movement happening, but I just don't think it matters too much in this case. And so onward. So let's do the ground movement and see what we can do about getting into position to perhaps take back some of the homeland. Oh, here's a question. So no Axis unit ever entered these hexes. So I believe this unit remains in supply, but the Axis do actually control these hexes, and not that hex, but this hex. And so am I right about that? That the Axis having controlled this but not this, does not mean that this hex was then an invalid supply line. So I believe this unit is still in supply, and I'm going to play as such. So here we go. Oh, you know what? This unit does not have enough movement points to get. Oh, yes, it does. Well, it doesn't have enough movement points at Leningrad, but it has enough movement points to move there onto the front line. I'm pretty sure that this lake does not allow combat, so this would 1, 2, 3 to go into the forest, just to start taking account of the attrition phase. And so then, as I said, that's 1, and now it costs an extra 2, so that's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 for that, and then this unit 1, 2, and well, actually I'll do that one later. The 1, 2, 3, 4. That unit has 5 movement points. This unit doesn't have enough to move up there. That means this unit can't get up there. Would this unit have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Nope, couldn't make it. So nope, that unit is frozen there by the zone of control. So, oops, this infantry unit moves up here for 2 and cannot move further. But is that what I want to do? 1, 2, 3. See, I'm trying to get as many infantry units as possible into position to be part of the attrition phase, and I don't think I can. Moving this unit here would be 2. Well, so I guess I could do that and that. That's 1 extra ground factor if that will end up mattering, and then that unit comes there. So this unit here, 1, 2, 3, and it will just stop right there. This unit has 3 movement points, so it can go 1, 2, 3. That allows this unit 1, 2, 3, and the armor unit 1, 2, 3, 4. And this unit can go there for 2. And the shock infantry, let's see. Yeah, so, you know, having this unit disorganized here makes it look like a pretty juicy target for a potential combat. So we'll do that. Actually, you know what? There's no zone of control there, so we'll do that for 2, and then we'll go here for 1, and then there's no zone of control problem here, so it will move here for 2, 3 because of the river, and then it's frozen there. The unit can't do anything. The armored unit can come. Is there a river there? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, and get into the fray. And protecting Sevastopol should be a more urgent matter for me than I've made it so far. So I can't get there that way, can it? Only one of those units will make it into the actual attrition phase. So this unit's going to move here to try to protect Sevastopol, and this unit's going to, oh no, the Kerch Strait. So this unit's going to move here, and this unit's going to move here, and this unit's going to move here, which I would not do in the real game, but I want that extra 3 factors for the attrition phase. And so I don't believe there's much else I can do. Our air units, if we are launching offensives, will be targeting Moscow for sure, and we have 1 in range. And this air unit will be targeting probably, well, I'm not sure, but it will get some use. And so I need to count up for attrition. So the attrition count is 59 Soviet ground factors against 66 German ground factors. Now, in previous attritions, I made the mistake of not tripling the Soviet unit that was in Leningrad, which was a 2-strength or a 3-strength unit. I'm pretty sure that would not have mattered, but it was a mistake, but I corrected that mistake here. If not for that mistake, then the Axis would have 8 less, so they would actually be a point below. But I don't think it will matter much because, as you can see here, I finally figured out to hold this oriented correctly for the camera. So the Soviets are in this column here, and the Axis are in this column here. So we come over here. So now the real East Front grind is starting, right? Both units are going to have to take 2 hits. And the Germans will get 2 air reactions, and the Soviets will claim 2 attrition hexes, and they will be allowed to initiate 2 combats. So that's not great for them, but they're starting to bulk up, right? And they also have this Katyusha card for a combat, which should be able to help a lot. So, and I'm virtually certain that the Soviets do not get a blitz phase at this stage of the war. I will look that up when the time is right. So the Soviets are allowed to now claim 2 attrition hexes. Now, as I've said, this is a valid attrition hex. Does getting a unit there help us in any way? That I don't know. This is a valid attrition hex, and so we could launch an insane attack against Leningrad, but probably will not. But we could push that armored unit back. This is a valid attrition hex, and that looks like something that could be useful. This and this are valid attrition hexes, but I don't need to move that unit out of there, right? I'm going to be able to destroy that unit in a combat if I want to. Okay, but so the first thing that has to happen is the different sides need to place the 2 hits. So where should the Axis place their hits? These must be upfront units. Now let's see. I think that they are certainly in good shape if they have one of these units. These 2 units here become disorganized. This unit's not up front. There's no land connection there. And definitely don't want to disorganize one of the big Blitz units. But the other options really aren't terrific from their perspective. But I'm not sure it matters all that much. Where should they take their second hit? They don't want to give up that city there. Oh, you know what? The Finns will make the Allied nations suffer the losses. Okay, now the Soviets have to assign 2 hits to their units. And let's see which units are good. Well, okay, so disorganized and disorganized, that sounds good. No, actually, in real life, right, the Axis would simply reorganize that unit and then come over there and fight. So that's not what we'll do. But is there anything better that we can do? Are we going to really be doing... Where will we do our combats, right? I guess we'd like to destroy that unit for a moral victory. Well, okay. Yeah, let's... No, we don't want to let these units come down to Sevastopol, do we? Wow. I can't find any particularly good choice, but there might also not be any really bad choice, so we'll probably take a hit there. And... boy, I am perseverating about this longer than I need to, aren't I? You can't just let Rostov be wide open there. That would be kind of silly. But what else? What else? What else? Well, you know what? Fine. Future turns, let this giant armor unit try to slog through the woods and swamp there. Oh, it's not actually allowed to go into that terrain, so that's a good hit to take right there. All right. So what attrition hexes do we wish to claim? I would say... this hex right here, for sure. We'll slide that back. And I think that we will let this armored unit take that hex. And well, I guess this right here is the other... Now this here maybe, yeah. I think that in an ongoing game that would be, well, no, I wouldn't want to vacate here. Well, now let's take this hex also. So that unit will retreat there, and here we come. And those are the attrition hexes and the attrition hits. And so the next thing we have to do is fight the fight. All right. Well, the Soviets couldn't get quite enough units into position to do what we were hoping here, but we still have this German unit is disorganized, so it's defending with only a 6, so it's a 6 against 6, so that's a 1-to-1, and the Soviets will bring in one of their air units, and the Germans have 2 air reaction markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This unit's too far away, so it's got to be one of these units here. And so, this hasn't happened for a while since the Soviet Air Force was basically wiped out early on in the war, as per history. And so the both sides roll 2 dice. Okay, I don't have a good second pair of dice. Oh, yes, I do. Let me go get my other second pair of dice. All right. So, and the better dice tray. So, is that in the camera? Yep. All right, so let's have these be the Soviet dice and these be the Axis dice. So there's 1 hit by the Axis and 1 hit by the Soviets. So each air unit is reduced by 1, and so neither will have any real impact on the battle. And so this is a 1-to-1 fight here. And let's see what the Soviets can do with that. Oh, another 6. Okay, so that's the best you could possibly get. 1-to-1 on a 6 is 1 hit each, and that does not get the job done. We'll just put that there for a moment. So the already disorganized German unit becomes a cadre, and the Soviet unit becomes disorganized. So Moscow was not recaptured. And for the second combat, again, I guess just for a moral victory, we'll blast at this unit here. So that's defending with a 7 against 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's still 1-to-1. Yeah, didn't get this done as well as we had hoped. Well, the no Soviet stacking thing is painful. So then we have another air battle here. The 2 air reaction markers coming into play. And here we go again. So that's no hits from either air side in the air battle. So again, it's simply a 1-to-1 combat. And so I guess the best that the Soviets can hope for is the same thing. A 5 on 1-to-1 is... is that really bad for the Soviets? I guess it is. 1-to-1 is 1 hit to the attacker and none to the defender. That's too bad for them with a high roll like that, but it is what happens in life. Well, I don't know about life. I've never had anything to do with combat, but I'll say it happens in war games all the time. And the disorganized unit, I think, will be this weak infantry unit. And so that is the end of the... Oh, wait, the Katyusha! So what would a 5 be on 2-to-1? Let's do that. Let's use the rockets. On 2-to-1, it would be 2 hits each. All right, so this unit will then be destroyed. Yay, we killed a German unit. And that unit will take a hit. And I've got to find one more hit marker over here. Here we go. And a second Soviet hit. I think we don't like the idea of doing this, but this is a cadre. This has another step, so we'll place that disorganized marker there. We would, in actuality, probably not do that. The armor unit will advance here. And, all right, so, yay, Soviets killed the German unit. But the operational victory condition score remains 19 victory points for the Axis, which is a draw. 2 more, and they would have won the game in an operational victory. And so, I don't know about anybody else, but I really like this game. I think that the mechanics are fascinating, and learning how to set yourself up for future operations is interesting and important, and I'm clearly not super good at it. But what we would see if the campaign continued would be the Soviets would be starting to get all kinds of cards coming in that would be beneficial. And oh, well, I forgot to say, so this is the turn 4 Soviet strategic card. The Pearl Harbor happened, and that's what triggered the release of the infantry units that were in Siberia. So that was good for them. So what comes on the next turn? The Soviets get to play OKH intervenes, and they get to kick out the Guderian and Kleist generals, and so the Germans aren't going to be able to have blitz phases on turn 6. This is a combat aiding card. Zhukov shows up on turn 9, and they get to blitz, and they get to upgrade their armor units to full strength. Operation Uranus gives them the offensive kit for free. They do a paradrop up here if they have air superiority. I think that's what that means. So the Soviets start to get a lot of benefits. Mussolini gets dismissed, and this big, powerful German unit that will eventually come in is going to have to leave and go to Italy, right? And so the Germans have begun strongly, as they always do, but they will start to dwindle. And if you look, so these are upcoming Soviet reinforcements, and these are upcoming German reinforcements. So the Soviets get some big units. Now this unit does flip and become a super powerful unit, but it's not going to be around for a long time. The Germans do get Gustav. It gets to, do its thing, trying to help out. Fall Blau, they do get to do some stuff there. They get a reinforcement. Turn 8, Konev. That's a Soviet card. Got that wrong. And they get the Pioneers later. But I think, and then Manstein shows up, turn 11. But I think it's obvious that the tide is turning against the Germans. And so what they would have had to do to keep things moving more is probably, in the long game, I think, generally speaking, I think as the Axis, I would not be going after Leningrad and also headed south. I think as the Axis, my tendency would be to head south. I've always thought that there are two big mistakes that that Hitler made in World War II that were, had they not been made, could potentially have led to a different outcome, although I doubt that was going to happen. But the one mistake was doing all that mucking around in Russia, like moving to this front, then moving to this front. That was a problem. The other is was launching Barbarossa when they did, instead of focusing on locking down the Mediterranean. That seemed like the big one. But in any case, as the Germans in a campaign game, I think I would emphasize trying to get Moscow and south. I think I would not push my way towards Leningrad much, and because I just don't think the Germans have the resources to do all of that. But if the Germans had not gone after Leningrad up here, if they had just kept some infantry back here, kept the Finns available but not getting all these hits, I think that would have, so they would have had this infantry unit, this armor unit could have been involved down here, right? There would have been the possibility of being set up right now as the Germans for a strong push towards the oil fields. And as we know, that's the place that the Germans are hurt the most in the production part of the game, is they don't get a lot of oil. And so, great game. I am going to see if I can motivate myself to try to learn how to make a Vassal module, and I will try to put this game up on Vassal if I can, and if not, I will just reset it here on the table and give it a go with the campaign game. Maybe take a look at Scorched Earth and see how that applies, but I might not be quite ready for that yet. All right. Thanks for the great game, Emmanuel. This was fun, and I will be back.